Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for our exclusive AMA session with Sandeep Singh, the mind behind Nuclei. Sandeep is a longtime friend of the Fox Den. He's previously joined us as a guest for our tool talk on Nuclei and our live stream event at DEF CON 30 in Las Vegas, where we actually had a chance to meet in person, which was fantastic. Both of those episodes, by the way, can be accessible through our YouTube channel or on bishopfox.com. So, Sandeep, once again, glad to have you back, my friend. How have you been?
Thanks, Joy. It was nice meeting you in person last time. And yeah, I'm always happy to be here and talk about Nuclei and share things and share with people who get to know about Nuclei, and hopefully it will be a helpful session for them as well. But yeah, excited to be here.
Absolutely. So I know we've got a really awesome session planned here with a demo, but before we get to the actual demo portion, just wanted to see if you could give our audience a quick overview of some of the recent Nuclei updates and kind of how we got to this point.
Yeah, definitely. And talking about the major updates, actually, the recent one, the Nuclei 2.8.0, was the one where we shipped a lot of new features. And there are, like, in terms of number, I can say it's more than 50 issues we closed. So it was really we added a lot of things. But in terms of, let's say, if I speak about some of the top features that we shipped in that version was the URL fuzzing, the one of the most asked features from the community actually, and it's kind of start of the dynamic fuzzing introduction in the Nuclei engine for the first time. So till now, as we know about Nuclei, it's more about finding the vulnerabilities which is known in terms of pattern. You define everything in the template, and then it finds what is defined. But there was always a need of dynamic testing where you don't know about the parameters and values, and still you want to do the fuzzing. And we really wanted to do support that feature, and URL fuzzing is just an introduction of it, and which basically allow you to fuzz all the query parameters you have as you get from the crawling, and the plan is to extend this feature to do more fuzzing on the headers and body, and you can control all the request part of it. But yeah, it's good to start with the feature itself, and we already started to share the templates around doing the dynamic testing. So that was the one of the let's say the major change in that release. And right after that, actually, we are working on the integrations in the Nuclei right now. So we have a lot of separate project apart from the Nuclei itself, where each project is focused on doing one individual thing and doing it well. For example, in that release, we integrated 3 other project discovery tools into Nuclei. And the idea behind is that so previously you have to pipe all the tools data to Nuclei in order to run those. And as we know, once the individual projects become mature and we know if had enough feature, it makes sense to just integrate them directly into Nuclei. So the user experience and the required information that you might need to feed to Nuclei can be directly generated from within Nuclei itself. So it's much more easier to run or use. And yeah, talking about the integration, in this release we added HTTPX, ASNMap, and Uncover. These are the 3 individual projects doing the individual things, but now you can utilize those features directly right out of the Nuclei. So these were the three integration. And apart from that, one of the key features that we most likely miss to test or scan generally is about scanning IPv6 or let's
Mm.
say multiple IPs. So usually when we query any domain or host, we look for the first A records that get responded, but there are multiple. It's possible that the same host can have multiple A records and not only just IPv4 but also IPv6. So in this release, we also added the capability to scan all those IPs as you running the scan. So now the same template not only runs again the single IP but all the associated IPs for that host. So these are the some of the core features that we shipped into Nuclei 2.810.
Excellent. And I think I heard you mention before by request from the community. So I'm curious, before we get to the demo as well, like, are these purely crowdsourced? Is it kind of a healthy mix of internal with the very talented project discovery team? And kind of how does that dynamic work?
I would say heavily influenced by the community. So
That's awesome.
definitely everything that we build out initially was mostly the idea or let's say the things that we know, but once it becomes public, it's always the community or user who actively following the projects, coming up with the new ideas in terms of where they are using it or the new challenges they might be facing with. And if you look to the project, actually, we currently have 144 open issues for the Nuclei project itself, and that's all coming from the community. So we always try to support the features that we already had in mind, but the community request is something we always try to keep up with and prioritize as much as possible. But I would say apart from what we try to add from our side, mostly the new features or development is driven by the community only.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I wanted to make sure that we touched upon that just because I think it's a super important aspect of just the heart of project discovery as a company. So, okay, well, I will step aside here and turn the reins over to you for the demo. And I'd also like to encourage our audience to submit any questions as Sandeep is going through some of these features. We'll be monitoring chat, and I will strategically inject those questions in as we go through. All right, take it away, Sandeep.
Sure. So I'm going to share my screen quickly. Uh, and yeah, let me see. I will start with actually showcasing the fuzzing feature I was mentioning, which is the most important in general, and also about let's say when we speak about the fuzzing, it's input you always has the endpoints that you are looking to fuzz, and since this feature is about URL fuzzing, you are going to require endpoints that has all the uh, query parameters that you are looking to fuzz. For example, in this case, I am using this public firing range as a test domain where it has all the queries and parameters for it. For example, if you're looking to extract these kind of URL, so uh, like to enumerate this, I currently use the Katana projects, which is another project from Project Discovery for the active crawling. And just to showcase actually how you can get this information is I'm just typing this to Katana and I'm using the field query URL to filter out all the endpoints and only display endpoints that has actually have query URL in it. So it will filter all the non-query related endpoints and only display the one which we are interested in to fuzz. So this is how I generated the input for it. So uh, generally, if we're looking to fuzz, we can just pipe the domain, crawl the data, and get the required data. Since I already prepared this endpoints here in the file. I'm just going to run through Nuclei with this, and since the fuzzing feature is very new, and the templates are also uh, new for this, we created a separate project for the fuzzing templates and added all those dynamic templates to detect all the possible things that we can do dynamically. And this is just a example templates that we added from our side, but this is just not for the complete coverage. We can just go through these existing templates, and we can see what are things that we are looking to cover more, and we can easily extend the template as we do for the other things. But these are the just example templates how you can do the dynamic fuzzing in general. So I'm going to utilize this project to run the fuzzing, and I'm running all those first fuzzing templates against the endpoints that I just crawled using Katana. And as we can see, it started to detect all the endpoints. In this case, the reflected accesses, open redirect. These are the templates that we created just to showcase the capability of dynamic fuzzing and the template creation part. And about the template creation, this is something we also detailed out here in terms of the options and things we can do to write the specific fuzzing templates. And there is a lot of information to actually create or curate specific template for specific needs. Like this is all the information, but you might not need it every part of it to include in the template depending on the your use cases. But this is like this documentation is really helpful in terms of uh, creating your own dynamic templates. But yeah, you can also utilize what is already there. Uh, And yeah, I believe, yeah, I'm also running a local host server, which let's say emulate these endpoint and also is vulnerable for this. So this was a, let's say, the one of the feature that I showcased, and I will move forward with the
Sure.
integrations part actually.
Excellent.
So 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 yeah, to continue with the demo, actually, the other top features we added is the integration actually. So initially, when we talked with the users, since Nuclei support multiple protocols, including DNS, HTTP, network, and TLS, it's really hard to keep up in mind to what kind of input to feed for the template we are running. For example, it's pretty much clear for the HTTP templates we need to run, we need to input the URLs, but for the DNS you might not need URLs, or unless it's not a requirement. So previously it was a URL input for everything, and now we updated the engine to optimize or the handle the input automatically depending on the input you are feeding. So now if you just feed the the example.com as a DNS name, Nuclei will automatically probe this domain, and depending on the type of template you are running, it will internally run the HTTP probe and get the URL and run the HTTP template on the top of it. For example, if I run path is www.hackathon.com, I'm using this as I know there will be a result for this domain. So previously, if we run past this information, Nuclei will ignore this since uh, you cannot run HTTP template on the just subdomain name. But now Nuclei will internally run HTTPX on the input, and uh, depending on the template you are running, it will pass the input accordingly. So now there is no need to uh, run HTTPX beforehand. If you wanted to run Nuclei, you can just run the sub finder and pass directly to Nuclei, and it will take care everything internally. So that's the let's say UX improvement from the feedback we received from the users. So that was the one integration of it. And there are the my favorite one, actually, the uncover one. I'm not sure how many people are familiar with this project, but there is a dedicated project for asset discovery, which is basically it's a wrapper on the top of all the top search engines that we have out there, including Sodan, Senses, Fofa, Hunter, and it collects 8 search engines, and uh, give you ability to run any query which can be run against all those search engines. So now you don't have to go manually and look for uh, those exposed asset on each search engine. You can just uh, feed the API keys from each search engine, and you can search across all those search engines right out from your CLI. And the good part about this is actually it outputs the data in a manner that you can feed directly to all your workflows. For example, you will get the IP and port format that you can feed to HTTPX or Nuclei or any other tool you might want it to do. And with the integration, you don't need anymore to feed these queries from uncover to Nuclei. Now it's possible to write the query and get the Nuclei execution right from the Nuclei itself. For example, I have this query. Yes, I have this template which actually make use of this query. For example, I'm using TD option, which will display the content of this template. And if we take a look at this metadata, which includes the Sodan query, which basically means if we go on Sodan and search for this query, we will get all the asset related to this. And since now we know this query is already included in the template, we can just make use of it. So let me show this. So yeah. Now I'm just adding the uncover flag to it. So now Nuclei will read this template and read this query and run against Sodan, and it will then auto probe those Sodan results, the IPv it received from Sodan, and then run the same template against those targets. So now it automated 4 step from querying those data to probing those data, and then running that template against those targets. So since we don't have result in the case, I should include the other templates as well. For example, this was example where we can just that template is self-sufficient. If you feed the query in it, it will run automatically in terms of querying and probing and then running the template itself. And with this integration, this is not just only part of it. The other part is you can uh, run the query directly. For example, if I use this SL and then include uber.com. This is the Sodan query I'm trying to write, and that will run directly against. Like use is not the right like query. So UC stand for the uncover query, where this will run against the Sodan, and then all the host return from Shodan then will be running with the tech detect template. So here I use the tech detect
Mm,
just an example, but the template could be anything CVs or exposed panels or it could be anything. So in this way, you can just search against the any organization out there or search engines and get those templates executions right there without going out of nuclei.
yeah.
So yeah.
That's pretty powerful. And having spent some time myself in looking at the concept of asset inventory and collecting assets that belong to a specific organization, therein lies one of the challenges as well. I'm curious how this feature tackles that asset attribution. Does this asset indeed belong to the organization that I'm, investigating or exploring or what have you? How does it handle that?
Yes. So yes, since let's say this is completely uh, the the asset that returned from the Sudan is completely based on the query that works on the Sudan. So you just need to make sure you are feeding the right query with
Yeah,
the right information to get those, making sure you are scanning to the right target. But this was just an example how we can run the query against the search engines right from Nuclei. But as you were saying, I guess it's our responsibility in
right.
terms of using the right query to make sure you are scanning the right target.
Yeah.
But yeah, we can always improve the query to make sure we are getting it right. But something we should do it before actually trying it out.
Yeah, I was curious if it was just obviously in that area you're narrowed by domain, or if it's a pre or a procured list before running the targets that you've already vetted in advance. Again, a fun and entertaining challenge to look at from starting from zero knowledge and just purely discovery aspect versus starting from an informed position. So yeah, this is really cool. I really do like the tech detect aspect of it as well, especially if you're working on an exploit or you know of an exploit and now you're looking for, like, in a bug bounty capacity, all of the assets that are affected by said exploit. So yeah, super powerful.
Yeah, and the best use case of this feature actually, you cannot just write the single query. You can write the set of group of query in the file per line, and you can just feed that file as an input to the uncover query option. So now all the queries will run against those search engines, and all the asset that return will we can be used to run any of the template we want. So it's basically one time work to curate all the right search engine queries that you wanted to go after if you're looking to test any given organization. So you collect all those right queries and save them into file as a query, and you just feed that to this, and you will make sure to run those queries and write and run it against all the different search engines. So using the list of queries is also, you know, can be using single query is just an option to showcase the feature.
Yes, efficiency at scale. I love it.
And then also the last thing I spoke about the scanning all the IPs in general. So yeah, this is the one of the common thing I see. Let's say mostly get missed or not tested that well, since it's more around the tooling, like how many tools uh, that basically have this option available. And yeah, before speaking, I can just showcase this one actually. So for example, if we look at the hackerone.com IPs, we can see there is two IPv4 IPs and two IPv6 IPs. And when we generally run the scan, either one of the IPs get picked, and the template ran against that single IP. And we can just run that for now. So in this case, this will run as usual. As I was saying, the one of the IP will be picked, and uh, we can see the result. Now there is SA option is the short option for the scan all IPs. And if I use this option, uh, you will see the additional result. And this means that it tries to connect the other IPs as well, and it has the same response. So we see the result twice. And in this case, it's the same response, but you eventually, or let's say the instance where I found this becomes useful is some of the times when either server is misconfigured, or some server configured in a manner where they also respond with different content, or host some other application on that other part of it, and also using custom headers and requesting the same IPs, you might get different response. So scanning for all the IPs, including IPv4 and IPv6, you will encounter different thing for sure. So it's always good to have those coverage, and it's good to know now, since Nuclei support this uh, built in, if we just add the essay option in general. But yeah, this is just to make sure we always know what we are looking for. Like it's not always like the servers are misconfigured if we get the option, but if we are know what we are dealing with, and there are possibility that other IPs might host something else, it's a good option to utilize to make sure everything is scanned.
Yeah, absolutely. Coverage again, efficiencies at scale and coverage. And hey, I wanted to take a moment here. We got a question from the audience that kind of touches upon our last discussion momentarily. Making things way too easy for bug bounty hunters. I'm curious to know if anyone plans to use Nuclei to automate findings from the defender point of view, and if so, what would be the best workflow?
So yeah, this is let's say the common thing we get asked in terms of how we are making things pretty much simple in terms of anyone who might be interested in security, and get to know about the projects, and able to run the tools, get the results, and do the reporting. But similarly, it becomes hard on the other side, watching us all the things getting scanned. But I would also say, like, if things become simple and easy to detect or run, it also means it's more likely things getting detected more than before, since now things the barrier becomes simple, and everyone with basic knowledge able to run those tools and detect those vulnerabilities. So that's the good part of it, and we always wanted to simplify those things as much as possible. But yeah, I can also understand the challenge on the defender side, and I guess it's always going to be cat and mouse game, where y- as a defender you might introduce something in terms of detecting the nuclei logs, or any of the scanner, or the bug bounty hunter using to scan your target. We can always implement the logs. For example, speaking about the nuclei, I guess initially in the initial version of the nuclei, there is a static user agent used, and after a point we started to receive feedback from the users that many website started to block nuclei, and that was based on the user agent tracking. And since when we are running nuclei, the primary aim is to find the vulnerability and not missing them. And if on the other side, definitely there will be always attempt to stop the attack. So we actually started to randomize the user agent to bypass those protection. And now there are new things are coming up that can be also utilized to detect the scan and then put some additional firewall or things in place to block it out. But then again, as an attacker, you can get to know about new things or implement things that will bypass that as well. So I guess it will be always the opposite side of it. As an attacker, you'll always try to bypass the existing protection. But I cannot think of say something that might be good from the defender point of view, because I know if there is something we will try to bypass that, so we ensure we are able to detect what is vulnerable out there.
Yeah, I was just thinking too, as you were going through and we were talking about asset discovery and attribution. I think one of the advantages from a defender perspective versus an attacker perspective is presumably knowing the landscape and the attack surface of your assets that are there, or at a minimum, the critical assets. So being able to execute nuclei against those critical assets yourselves instead of relying on bug bounty hunters preemptively may be one thought, but obviously it does take great care to understand the usage and the safe execution and understanding and interpreting the results that are there too. So moving on here, we've got a couple more questions. Wonder if you could ingest nuclei findings into Splunk.
Actually, we did that in the last release. We added this support, and again, it was something requested from the community as well. And the good thing is, someone from the community only added the support, so it was pending for some time. And in the last release, I don't recall the username, but it was added, and it's already included in the latest release of the nuclei, and also updated in the documentation. So if you go
Awesome.
through the documentation, you will see the instruction.
Excellent, fantastic. Always good to have a yes answer. One final question that we've got here: are there options for controlling stealth in scanning or determining exploitability? I think you kind of touched a little bit upon some of that evasiveness, but there's another question more specifically about stealth.
Yes, I guess, but that we are talking about, let's say, how safe we can be while performing the testing, or while running the nuclei scan.
Uh,
Uh,
yeah, I guess it just means undetected, not necessarily, you know, ringing all of the alarm bells that are out there that hey, nuclei, I'm being scanned by nuclei, but kind of flying under the radar.
Yeah, so yeah, like there are multiple things, I guess, depending on the strategy that the target website might utilize, to detect. For example, if it's about the rate, how how fast you are going with your scan, there is a lot of control regarding the rate limit options. You can fine tune the scan speed as slow and as fast you want. And generally, uh, people tend to increase all those options to get the result as fast as possible. But generally, using the defaults or even fine tune that would be always a great idea. Not just to not getting banned from those target application, but also getting faster. It means it has possibility that site just ban your IP and you literally miss the valid vulnerability that you might have detected with going the right speed. So related to traffic, that's the one thing. And then there are blockers, let's say firewalls, looks for specific patterns, depending, let's say, LFI payloads, XSS payloads, or any malicious pattern that it might notice and start to block it out. So if you see those things, you probably might want to remove those templates from your default run. So yeah, it's always depend on the targeted website and how they are fingerprinting or blocking it, and based on that, you can definitely control those factors.
Excellent. So thank you for going through some of the high impact features in this latest release, and as I understand it too, it's constant state of improvement and continuously enhancing and infusing some of these community driven features into the product. So just because of these features that we're highlighting here doesn't by all means mean that that's all that's built into Nuclei and the latest and greatest features. So it's a nice segue. I'm segueing myself into the next question of what's in store for 2023 in the project discovery roadmap, including Nuclei and beyond.
There are so many things actually, and while speaking at Nuclei, I guess there are multiple sub projects or projects that enhance the experience using Nuclei. For example, as I was speaking before, currently we are working on a small handy Chrome extension that I can also showcase it right now. It's currently in the testing, but uh, so if you take a look at my screen, there are some series number, and you will also notice there is a nuclei icon right there, and it's a result of the extension installed it right here, which is Nuclei CV Finder. And what it does is actually uh, it just uh, it just checks if the current CV that you are looking at the screen, and it's not related to Twitter. If you browse through any website or any like github.com or any website, it just check for the CV ID, and it cross check if that CV, if there is a nuclei template exists for that CV or not. And if there is a CV, it will place this nuclei icon to let the user know that there is already a nuclei template available there. So you don't need to think about POC. You can just go and use the template directly. So this is a good
Nice.
indication to know about if there is a new series out and you wanted to know if there is a template for it not. So now don't need to go and check. You will just get to know about it while you're browsing through it. And the good part of it, the icon is hyperlinked directly to the template itself. So if you click on that icon, you will go right to the template. So this is really small and handy uh, Chrome extension that we currently working on, and it will be published soon. It's just currently testing, and we probably add a couple of new features. So yeah, this is one of the thing uh, that's coming out there. And speaking about the nuclei, actually, there is one more exciting things coming there, since it's probably within this month we are going to push out the nuclei website, which will also have details around the nuclei cloud things. And it's pretty much known that we were working on the nuclei cloud for some time. And in fact, if you take a look at the nuclei uh, uh, public nuclei project, you might already see these options that we added, that we are working on, let's say, internally. And it's already in the alpha stage. In fact, I can just showcase uh, the Nuclei Cloud CLI integration with the existing Nuclei project. And yeah, this will be coming out this month. The website and all the details will be out there. But yeah, I can just tease it out a little bit in terms of how we worked with the alpha version. And since we initially wanted to have the user experience using the Nuclei CLI itself, so we integrated the cloud API in existing Nuclei tool, and we can just use like we use nuclei right now. So yeah, talking about the CIDR. So yeah, this was the one of the thing I also missed while previously showcasing the demo. we we can now directly feed the CIDR and ASN input to the nuclei itself, and it will auto expand all the IPs or auto find all the IP associated with that ASN range. So now we don't have to separately run other tools to get the fetch the IPs on network range and then pipe to the nuclei. Now you nuclei can take care of all those things internally. And in this case, let's say we have this as input, and I'm going to run the PTR fingerprint template for it. I'm also using, let's say I'm just going to run as default. This is the current nuclei that we have open source, and you can see now what is happening internally is these CIDR ranges getting expanded, and then each IP going through the PTR fingerprint template, which will extract the DNS information as part of the PTR record. And this is the default run. The cloud part, which I wanted to showcase, is integrated in a manner that you literally don't have to do anything extra. You just add the cloud option, and now it will run your existing nuclei scan on the cloud, and you will just start to see the results right after your screen. There is no time. No time. You will just most probably spend your time to walking through the results as the time you're running the scan, and it's already completed.
Which is time well spent. Much better going through the results than figuring out how to gather and collect the results in the first place. So that's awesome. Uh,
Yes.
it- we had an interesting question here too, and I think I saw this on social media recently about a survey for nuclei, and you have very
Hmm.
interested parties wondering when they will receive the swag from the survey. Just because I know that you guys have some really awesome swag that's out there.
Yes, yes, and that part is already the survey is already completed. So we really don't wanted to you know share out some swag to some people, and then let's say then some people complained about it. We just wanted to make sure the survey gets completed, and then we ship those swags to everyone who participated, and uh, the survey is now completed, so we have all the details that we needed to now we're probably reaching out to users to fill with the links where they can just drop their shipping address, and uh, all the users who participated in survey yeah, will be receiving those swags.
Excellent. Yeah, I know swag is super important. It's a badge, so it's great just to generate that much enthusiasm for it. So I don't beg or I don't hold that against anybody asking when they're going to get that awesomeness. Okay, one final question here. Is there a subscription based nuclei? That would be awesome.
Definitely, like I mean, since we are just currently working out on the we started with the Nuclei Cloud part, and as you know, we always go to the users and ask about the experience and how they like to utilize, or how it might be useful for them. So those things definitely, as we move forward and invite the cloud access to the user, we will take those feedbacks and make the plans accordingly. As of now, we all care about shipping out the cloud experience to the users.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. So, well, Sandeep, I just wanted to turn it over to you one last time to see if you have any closing thoughts before we sign off for today.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you to all the active community members, who's helping with all the filing all the issues, making PR, sharing the templates across template project. Like these things wouldn't be possible. In fact, we are keep shipping new release every week, and to and that's only possible as we have that active contribution from the community. And for anyone who might be watching this stream, if it's something you get interested about contributing to the open source, or getting through ideas, the thing that we are working on, we also have the Discord, active Discord server, where you can share or ask any of the question or any of the ideas that you might have and wanted to get implemented, or anything that we can do to improve the existing program. Everyone is welcome to join the server, and we love to connect.
Excellent. Well, it's always a pleasure, Sandeep. Thank you so much for joining us today. And it's been great to have you as a guest in the Fox Den once again. I'm sure we'll be meeting very soon once again as well. To our audience, to check out everything Nuclei, please visit nuclei.projectdiscovery.io. And as always, let us know what you think about this session in the comments, and be sure to visit bishopfox.com to see more from Sandeep. See you next time.
Thank you, Joy. Bye, everyone.
Bye.